Welcome friends to Farm Fresh Designs 59. In today's video, I have several projects that have beautiful nature images in it. So let's get started. My first project is a fabric banner that I bought at Hobby Lobby. And this is the large deer that comes from the Holly Glen IOD transfer set that just came out recently. Now when you add a transfer to fabric, you do not need to seal it first, but just use the tool they provide to push that transfer on, and then use that plastic that it's on to go back over it and rub all around the edges just to ensure there's nothing sticking up. Now this is part of the winter adornment stamp from IOD with the IOD green ink. Now I only used this one piece to finish up this project. And if you're wondering why I put the deer off center, it's because it has a border around it, or almost like a frame around it. And I wanted it to look as if it was coming off of the left side of the banner, as opposed to being in the middle. And when you are putting your stamp down, hover over the area you want to put it on, just to make sure that you're happy where it is, and then put it down, and then use one hand to kind of keep still and use the other hand to walk around and push that stamp into your piece. And with fabric, you need to put just a little bit more ink on the stamp because the fabric will absorb that ink. So you need to have a little bit extra on it. And then I always had baby wipes on hand to wipe around the edges of that stamp, because no matter how hard I try, I'm always going to get a little bit of ink on the edges. And with fabric, you can't go back and cover it up with a little bit of paint. Now with all of the IOD stamp sets, they come with mask. So there's a little piece of thin plastic that matches up to all of the different pieces in the stamp set. And what you want to do is, if you're getting ready to stamp real close to it, and you know that there's a possibility that you will stamp on top of something that you just stamped, you just use that mask to cover it up. And I think it makes it look really professional. And then I'm going to use that same piece from the stamp set, and I'm just going to go around and fill in those little blank spots. So I keep that mask on it for now. And the masks are just really easy to wipe off with a baby wipe. And I just go all around and fill in those little spots. So tell me something. Have you been using the different stamp sets? And do you like using them? I think they're a lot of fun. Now this is a piece of resin mold, and it's from the IOD Lock and Key. And I like to make up resin molds and have them ahead of time. And so this is just something that I had in my stash. So I painted it with Rust-Oleum chiffon cream. And once it dried, there's a mixture that I made. And it's 2 Dixie Belle Voodoo gel stains. And one is Tobacco Road. And then I'll add just a little bit of the natural. And it just kind of lightens it up so it's not dark, because I want this to look a little bit more rustic, because I'm going to be adding that to the top of the banner. Now this is just a little contraption that I've had for a long time, and it's to make little bows with. And I'm just got a little piece of lace laying down across, and then this is some green ribbon that I think I bought it at Hobby Lobby. And I'm going to use that lace to pull it up and tie it into a knot to make the little bow in the middle, because I'm going to be hanging it from the side of the banner. And it just adds a little bit of extra interest to it, and it just adds another layer to it. But I don't want something too fancy, just because I want it to look right with the particular deer. And then I'm putting Tight Bond Thick and Quick on the back of this resin, and I'm just gluing that onto the top. So what do you think? I think this might be my favorite piece today. My husband is a deer hunter, and so we have a lot of deer images in our house. And so when I see these images, or any type of deer images. I'm just a little partial to them because I think they're so pretty. And you could hang this on the inside of your house. And if you had a screen door on your front door, you could also hang it on the outside, as long as it's protected from the weather. Now, my next piece is a green canvas tote bag that I bought at Hobby Lobby. And this is a piece of decoupage paper, and I have discovered that you can actually put decoupage paper onto fabric. So I was super excited and I wanted to use this. And so there is a product by Pentart, and it's just called Fabric Medium. And so you're going to use that instead of whatever glue that you normally would use. And it just molds that decoupage paper down onto the fabric. Now, I have heard that you could wash it afterwards. But I would want to make sure that you've got a good sealer on it, because I did go back afterwards and put more fabric medium on the top of it. And this is not something I normally would wash, but if you've got something that you want to use decoupage paper on, you would want to use this fabric medium, and I'll make sure that I'll list it in the description box below. But I just think it's a neat way to add another image onto fabric. And I've just gone around and I've torn around the edges to make it just look a little bit more natural. And then I just work my way down all the way to the bottom. And then once it dries, I do go back over it with a couple more layers of fabric medium. Now, I probably won't wash this. And if I did wash it, I probably would wash it on the gentle cycle, because the fabric medium is supposed to protect it if you do wash it. Now, I didn't want it to be just too plain, so I'm using a stamp that came out this spring that's just called Adornment. And I love it because it has all of these different borders that you can use. So I wanted to use one that was fairly simple because I didn't want it to distract from the actual design. And I'm just going around all the edges and just taking my time and stamping it with IOD ink. And then it just gives it a border or a frame around it. Because normally if it was something that was on wood, I probably would use like some mold on it, or something else, or, different fabrics. But I just wanted to be able to stamp on it. And, I'm also thinking now, as I'm looking at this, that if you didn't want to put a stamp on it, you could maybe put some, like, ribbon around it, and you could use a fabric medium that would put down ribbon, and that fabric medium that I used on this would work. And it's just a very plain little bag. And when I was filming it, I thought, I could also make a little bow and add it up to the top. But I'm pretty happy with the way it is. And I think the image is beautiful. And it's a rooster, but it's got, the Christmas berries down at the bottom. So what do you think? But I think it is pretty, and I do like the image. Now, this next piece is going to be using the IOD stamp called, I think it's called Planks. I'm sorry, it's called Barnwood Planks. And I've used a lot of Barnwood in my videos, but it's something that I have access to pretty easy because I live out in the country. But for you, some of you may not have access to Barnwood. So this stamp set comes with 3 really large pieces that are different patterns. And then it has some smaller pieces. So I'm just using 2 of the larger pieces. And this is just one of those like heavy MDF boards that I'm going to be using to put a little piece of decoupage paper on it. So I'm just stamping it up with IOD black ink. And see how this top piece, it's not as, the pattern is not as heavy, but the piece at the bottom is got a little bit more grain to it. And then I have a little piece left down at the bottom. So I just use one of the thinner pieces. And you can mix and match any of the patterns that you want, just according to what you like. it's something that you want to maybe play around with to see what patterns you like together. Now, this is the part that I think is really neat. There's some little pieces on it that you're going to turn up and down instead of sideways. And what it does is it mimics where you would maybe have the nail holes. But look at it when I pull it up. I think it looks, and doesn't that look really cool? And it makes it look so real. And so you want to make sure that they're not right beside each other or right in line with each other. Because, you know, when you nail it together, you don't want to have everything nailed going straight down. And what I did was I painted it with Rust-Oleum linen white, and then I used IOD black ink. And this is just some decoupage paper, and after I tore it, then I used Tim Holtz Distress. And now what I'm using is I'm using the IOD letterpress, and I'm using the stamps, and I'm going to put up at the top, "In God We Trust." And I use an IOD thin mount to put all the pieces on. And especially when you're using letters, I try to go a little bit extra on wiping it down with the baby wipes, because all of those letters are different stamps. But the IOD thin mounts has all of the grid lines on it so that you can kind of keep it in line. Now at the end I needed that T again, but I wanted to make sure it lined up, so I took all of the other stamps off and cleaned off the S so that it wouldn't have any ink on it, so it wouldn't go right back on it. And then I only inked that T. And the S was there just to kind of keep it in line. And this is just a little scrap bow that's got some red burlap in it, that I think I got that at the Dollar Tree. And then just some checked red fabric or ribbon. And I'm just tying it together in the middle. And I'm going to hang that up on the side because it's going to be more like a sign. Now, initially, this little block or this little sign it wasn't meant for it to hang. So I drilled some holes up at the top. Now, I wanted a little bit extra, so these are just some heavy cardboard stars that I had at Christmas, and I'm just painting them with Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. And then I lay them all down in one little spot after they dry. And this is just a little script stamp that I got off of Amazon. And instead of trying to ink one each separate, I just kind of tuck them all in together and use that stamp and just stamp all of them at one time. And then I put it down to the bottom. And I really like this sign. I like using that Barnwood stamp. I think it's really neat. And I like the flag, and I like having that stars, just adds a little bit of extra to it. And then especially "In God We Trust." But I think it's a really special piece. So I hope you like it. And I'll leave the link to this decoupage paper down at the bottom. But I like it, so I hope you like this too. So friends, if you're liking the video, make sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and become part of our family. Now, my next project is just one of those little MDF boards that you can buy at, like Goodwill. You just kind of paint over it. And this is another one of the transfers from the Holly Glen. And this is the deer image that's the whole body. And I painted it with Waverly's Moss Green, which is one of my favorite colors of green. And after it dried, then I sealed it before I put that transfer on. And then I used the little tool to rub that transfer on. And then I used that plastic to go back over it and burnish it. And then I will be sealing it later. Now, it's just a little shelf sitter, but I wanted to add just a little bit extra to it, just to add some extra interest. So this is a piece of resin, and it comes from the mold Boughs of Holly. And it's 2 little pieces of holly with some berries in between. And I painted those with the Waverly Moss Green. And once I glued it on, I felt like it just blended into the background a lot. So I put some Voodoo Gel Stain on it to kind of darken it up. but I wasn't really happy with that. And so after that dried, then I decided that I would go back over it with some white wax just to kind of lighten it up. And then because it was a little bit lighter than the green, then I also just brushed over a little white wax on the edges of the sign. And I'm just going to glue that up at the top just to add a little bit of extra interest. But it's just a little shelf sitter. Now, before I show you what it looks like all together, this is just a little wood tag that I bought at Hobby Lobby. And this is going to stamp it with another one of those transfers from the Holly Glen. And this is that little same script stamp that I get off of Amazon. And I go on and stamp the whole little wood tag. And I think they have these at Christmas. They come 10 per pack. And so I bought a lot last year at the end of Christmas. And then I just put this is another deer. This is just a real small one. And I just add this to the tag, the little transfer. And then I will seal it afterwards, just because the sealer just ensures that transfer, won't get nicked or anything and come off. Now, these are 3 little sticks that I bought at Hobby Lobby. Please forgive me. Please forgive me for buying sticks, but I like the wood, and we don't have these kind of trees out in our backyard or in our woods or anything. So, I like them. I think they're maybe birch, and so I know my grandfather would probably roll over in his grave if he found out that I was buying sticks when I could clearly go out in my yard and get some. And so I'm just using some twine to kind of tie them up, and then I tie that little hang tag on it. And it's just something pretty to put beside that little sign. So what do you think? Now, I could have gone out and got some sticks, but they wouldn't have been as pretty as these, and they wouldn't be the same wood. So, but for some of y'all, maybe you don't have a lot of woods around your house, but I do think Hobby Lobby's got some pretty little wood sticks. Now, my next piece is a really pretty piece of decoupage paper. And I don't want to use the whole piece on this. So it's just a little wood tag that I painted with Rust-Oleum chiffon cream. And I'm using something really technical to make sure that is where I need it to be. I'm just kind of scratching it with my finger to kind of mark off that edge where I want it to be, because this particular wood tag has got like a little raised area in the middle. And I could have used something else, but it just worked me kind of, scratching it with my finger. And I'm going to decoupage it onto that tag. And I use Pentart decoupage varnish and glue. And I really like it. And I will share that in the description box. But I like it because it's not as thick as Mod Podge, and it's not as thin as DIY liquid patina. It's just kind of a happy medium between both of them. And I just use it and go all the way down. And one of the things that I use that I'm not sure if you'll see in the video is I just take a little piece of saran wrap, and I just very gently rub it over the edges. And if there's any little extra wrinkles, then that kind of works those wrinkles out. Well, I want to do a little bit extra instead of just having a plain tag. So this is some Dixie Belle red paint. Can't remember the name of it. And I just made little dots with a real fine paintbrush and just made little dots around it. And these are just some little pieces of greenery down that I'm going to put down at the bottom, and just kind of add a little bit of extra interest. And then I tie a ribbon on it. And this could be an ornament, or it could hang from a doorknob, but it's just a pretty little sign. And I think that birds are pretty all year long, but I love the red ones, especially at Christmas time. So what do you think? I know that I do a lot of birds. And Lisa from Our Shabby Cottage, she likes birds a lot too. So friends, we are at the end of the video today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the nature theme. So in the comments below, make sure to tell me what was your favorite, and have you used any of these transfers. But it was a fun video to make, and I really enjoyed it. So I hope you liked it too. And make sure that, you hit the like button if you enjoyed it and subscribe to our channel. And also hit the notifications button so that you'll be notified when I put my next video up. But thank you so much for all of your support. I just love that you watch my videos and you make comments. It just makes me feel like we're all family together. So thank you so much. So I hope you have a great rest of the week, and make sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video today and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.